Welcome to the Awakened Human Podcast, the place to be for highly progressive yet extremely grounded intuitive guidance, energetic support, metaphysical tools, and higher consciousness for highly successful, ambitious, soul-centered visionaries and leaders like you who want to make a global impact and achieve your highest fulfillment by aligning with your soul's true divine agenda and your role in God's plan of lighted creation, and by utilizing your divine gifts, talents, and abilities from the higher realms. We do this by working with the non-physical realms of higher guidance, energy, intuition, and powerful metaphysical tools for healing and transformation. We understand that the real change and transformation that's being called for on planet Earth and in our own lives and our own businesses doesn't come from outside of us, but rather from within. And that the change that we desire to experience in our lives and in our world requires us to change from the inside. I'm your host, Lori Ann Spagna. I'm a best-selling author, spiritual catalyst, intuitive, energy worker, ascension guide, multidimensional channel, animal communicator, visionary, lightworker, and luminary. I have dedicated my entire professional life to helping thousands and thousands of humans and animals all over the world in service and contribution to the light, which is the expansion, the upliftment, the evolution of humanity, to awaken, to uplift, and to align with our true divine source, which exists within each and every one of us. It is my passion, joy, and purpose to share this information, energy, and consciousness with you. Thank you so much for being here today and for sharing time with me. Let's get started.
Well, hello and welcome, you beautiful, magnificent being. It is me, of course, Lori Spagna here with you. You may notice that my voice is a bit scratchy. One of my dear friends calls it sexy voice, but it is literally from being at the Conscious Life Expo last week. And this is the longest my voice has ever kind of been like this post-expo. It was so much fun. I had such a good time. It's like seeing old friends, and I haven't been there in a couple of years. And I just had so much fun and, up all day and all night and nonstop talking and not enough sleep and air conditioning in the hotel and traveling back and forth on the airplane, but in doing lectures and workshops. And it went really fabulously. And it was so much fun. However, this is the effect. And I also say, really on an internal level, that this is just the old voice leaving and the new voice working its way through me. So please forgive me for that. I didn't want to miss a week, and it's time for me to do my podcast. So you're going to have to hear, unfortunately, the scratchy voice today. But I want to thank you all for being here. Today, we're going to talk about the problem with overgiving. And I think it's really an important topic because it has certainly showed up in my life a lot. If you are a highly ambitious, heart-centered leader, which so many people in my community are, chances are you're a highly generous over-deliverer, over-giver. And even if you don't resonate as a highly sensitive beings in general tend to be givers, that's part of why we develop our gifts. It's part of how you develop your gifts is through giving. You receive great gifts through the behavior of giving. And you cannot outgive in a sense of that which is available for you to receive. So if you are an overgiver in any capacity, whether you do it professionally or on a personal level with friends, with family, just in the world, however you give, then this episode is for you. So we're going to talk about the problem with overgiving. And let me clarify, I am a huge advocate of giving. I always say, first of all, it's fundamentally true that the fastest road to joy is through service and contribution. That was a quote given to me by my team. It's so true. The fastest road to joy is through service and contribution, which is a form, of course, of giving. And ultimately, what you receive is joy when you're giving without harm to yourself or anyone, ideally. And the fastest road to wealth, abundance, and prosperity of all kinds is through generosity. So through generosity of spirit, one becomes more and more wealthy and prosperous and abundant overall in all areas, especially directly related to what it is one gives. So through the act of giving, one becomes more abundant and prosperous. Again, I need to reinforce, without harm to self or others, ideally, always. Now, the problem with overgiving in a world that is not built for overgiving, our physical 3D world, if you call it the 3D world or the old paradigm, it's based on I, me, mine. It's based on taking, or it's a lot of times it's based on what can I get out of this? It's get, me, right? That's old paradigm. New paradigm is based on what I just said, the joy of giving, the joy of being of service, the joy of contributing, the divine truth associated with that as I give, so I shall receive. And that this is the path of generosity is a path of wealth. That said, because we're in the transitional period and a huge amount of people have not really come into that awareness, it's very easy to be taken advantage of when you overgive. And it's also easy for people to not understand that we're still living in a world of, to some degree, limits, to some degree, even though ultimately we are limitless beings with limitless potential and limitless capacities. We're still functioning to some degree with limits. So, in other words, I can't give everything for free all the time. Neither can you, because we do have rent to pay or bills to pay, or, you understand, right? You can't give endlessly of yourself, or else you will run out of your voice, for example. When I'm at the expo, I'm giving and doing lots of gifted information, wisdom, healing, lectures, workshops, even sharing with friends, sharing what's been going on with me, or if I'm teaching, just sort of like, in the cafeteria, I might be teaching something because I'm running into people who know me. They know, like, and trust me. They may be asking things, and I'm just giving, right? I can run out of my voice, for example, right? Which is really the overexpression, all right? Or the overworking to express oneself that could be perceived that, right? That could be an aspect of perhaps how this might manifest, right? So there are limits in a sense. And the limit is it's never supposed to harm yourself or anyone else. But the problem is that if the person or people in the world don't understand boundaries, they will mistake your giving for limitless giving. And then boundaries become an issue. I've said that I'm going to do a show on boundaries. I do still intend to do that. But this saying, the problem with overgiving is that when you start overgiving, if it is misunderstood, if the boundary of how much you're willing to give is not honored, and people start, what it creates when you give too much is really three things are very prevalent. And I've been learning this the hard way. I will tell you the hard way, because I'm a notorious overgiver, overdeliver. And I've talked about this on the show in the past, how I've had to try to really be cautious of wanting to people please, because I'm a people pleaser. I want people to be happy, and I'll keep giving. What happens is people start taking it for granted. And I started to notice it, especially over the past year. There was a point in the past year, well, it was a little over a year ago. I had 4 people I was involved with. I was giving so much, like way over giving. I just wanted to please them. I just wanted them to be happy. I knew I was giving everything. I knew I was giving because I felt like I wanted to feel good about it. And I wanted everybody in the group to feel good. And it turned out that it was misconstrued by 4 people. They thought that they became entitled. And they started to believe that there was no limit to what they could expect or ask for. And when they started to ask for things and expect things and have entitlement, that did not feel good to me, especially that 4 people decided to sort of come together in a sense, what felt like against me. Like it catapulted me into a very challenging situation, because finding a way to say no got really hard for me. We've reached the limit of what I'm willing to give for free and how much over and above I'm willing to give. But I didn't have those words at the time. It was quite challenging for me. I found this in another situation where I was over giving and over delivering just to try to make someone happy, realizing I was going over and over again, over delivering. And then that person felt entitled to ask for even more, as if the giving that I had already done was not enough. It was interesting to me, too, that instead of acknowledging the overgiving and saying, thank you so much, and is it possible for this too? The thank you wasn't even there. And when I see that, I realize I'm giving too much because this person feels entitled and doesn't seem to realize how much I'm giving and doesn't seem to recognize there's a limit. So this is me having to make the changes, right? Recognizing there is a limit to how much we can overgive. And there's a saying that I believed for many, many, many years until one of my a profound teacher, friend, and mentor and healer in my life, a dear friend in an inner circle, one of my most trusted confidants. This saying goes, you can't outgive God. And I always believed that and lived by it. And this friend corrected me and said, God does not overgive, but you can. You can overgive to your own harm and detriment. But God will give you exactly and precisely what you need in a perfect amount and does not overgive to harm or detriment. And that was a game-changing wake-up call for me. And it's still a lesson I'm integrating. Here's what I want to share with all of you amazing, wonderful, generous overgivers. And especially if you're like me, learn your own limits. And every time you're going to overgive, make sure you say it in advance. This is something I started to put into practice over the last year. It still doesn't really matter. People will still try to take advantage. People will still not realize your boundaries. They don't. It's not their job to know your boundaries. It's yours. Again, we'll do another episode on that in the future. But when you're going to overgive, here's what I recommend. And this is a lifetime of lessons, hard learned lessons that I'm still learning. When you're going to overgive, say it in advance. Say, this isn't something I usually give, but I'm willing to overgive here because it feels good to me. But it's not something I always give, and it's over and above. Now, trust me, I've done that lots of times, and people still expect more. They always expect more. So just also make sure you share that there are limits to how much you can give. And you need to get to know what your limits are. Again, I'm still learning my own, but I do know that when someone asks me for something that I did not freely offer, that I did not overtly offer, that's when my button will get pushed and I'll say, I did not freely offer that, and I did not overtly offer that, and I did not offer it in generosity of spirit. It is something they are expecting or wanting without me freely offering it. And at that time, I can sometimes say, I've learned to start to say it, I did not freely offer that, or I offered that with condition. These were the parameters of how I was willing to offer that, and I believe I have satisfied those parameters, or those parameters were satisfied, right? We have to put healthy limits in. Otherwise, we end up with no voice or some other kind of issue, because when we're overgiving, not only do other people tend to over-expect or over-demand or become entitled or not know the boundaries or not graciously and gratefully receive, but what happens is we, the overgivers of the world, will start to develop our own forms of resentment or animosity or, some form of annoyance or some other energy that is not for our most benevolent best. And that means we've been somehow overgiving, or someone has crossed a boundary of what we are willing to give or offer. So the opportunity here is to put healthy limits around what we're willing to give or how much we're willing to give. And those healthy limits are ours to know, but also ours to communicate in ways that feel good and right. And this is why I offer you this today, that when you're going to overgive, You can say and express, this isn't something I normally do, or we're about to go overtime and I'm about to give you more. And I hope you will receive this with gratitude because I'm about to give more than I usually promise. Or my agreement is to give, let's say, XYZ. My agreement is to give 60 to 90 minutes today. Or my agreement is to give XYZ, 12 months of something or whatever it is. Or my agreement is to give this particular energy. But right now, because it feels so good, out of joy, I'm going to give more. And I hope you will enjoy that and appreciate it. But if you don't want it, please, by all means, say no. Like even inviting the person to say, no, they've had enough, or no, it's enough. Because sometimes they might. It's rare. In my experience, it's rare. When I overgive, people always say yes. They always say yes. They almost never say, yeah, no, I don't want it anymore, right? They very rarely do. But recognize those same people sometimes are the ones who complain if you by 1 minute are late or something like that, or somehow 1 minute you've now somehow taken something that they didn't like. So just recognize, right? The whole world hasn't woken up to this concept of overgiving or of joy being, the result of the giving, or of gratitude being a natural byproduct of giving, right? A natural response to receiving, right? So this is why you have to keep, and again, I'm still learning it and putting it into practice more and more. But the whole world hasn't woken up to these concepts yet. So it's up to us, the overgivers of the world, the highly generous beings, the highly ambitious, heart-centered, mission-driven light leaders who lead through generosity, we generally tend to lead through fair reciprocity, through giving, through sharing. It's up to us to start to honor our own healthy boundaries and our own healthy no, and our own healthy limits. And so I'm just here to offer that to you today because I share what I'm learning and I share what's going on in the world that I know can help and inspire others. And I hope this is helpful and inspiring to you. You have a right to sometimes say, I feel that I've given enough. And for now, I'm going to say that's enough. And I hope that's okay with you. But I understand and respect if it's not. Either way, this is my limit. I'm willing to let this be enough. I hope you will be too. Those are some of the words I'm starting to use, and I hope it's helpful to you. And I'm offering this to you through my podcast, which is the way that I give and share, and from my own heart to yours. I hope it's helpful. In the meantime, I'm going to sign off for now, since my throat wants to keep these relatively short this week. And I'm just sending you so, so, so much love. And as always, my divine truth, absolutely, I'm wishing you your most benevolent best. Okay. Farewell for now. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for listening today. If you loved the show and if you benefited in any way, if it helped you to up-level or expand your consciousness, if you gained any new insights or ideas, if it made you think or become more aware, or if there were some strategies or intuition that you may have benefited from in any way, would you please do me 2 easy and simple favors? First, if you would be willing to leave a review, it would mean the world to me. I'd be so grateful. And second, if you're willing to share this show with anyone else who would benefit, you can either post it on your social media or just email it to someone and share it with another person or any other people. It would be so awesome. This kind of thing is so helpful in expanding consciousness on the planet and helping others to benefit from this kind of teaching, which just simply isn't generally readily available in the mainstream. So sharing it really helps others benefit and helps our planet evolve and awaken. Plus, expressing gratitude and generosity in this way will also expand your capacity to give and receive even more. Either way, I just want to say thank you so much for being here and for participating and for sharing, and overall, just for being the magnificent, the spectacular, the brilliant, the fabulous, the wonderful you that you truly are, and for allowing yourself to be the very best version of you today and every day. All my love and gratitude to you.